Hey guys, it's Matt Johnson here. I think most of y'all know me. I think I know most of y'all. But yeah, I get the privilege to present to you guys a case this week, today. So just going to jump right into it. I have started my internship. It's pretty exciting. I work for Journey Counseling Services. Yeah, and one of the therapists referred a couple to me. She was seeing the wife, and they got to a point where she really felt like marriage counseling was the next step for them, and so she referred her and him to me. Yeah, just to walk through their marriage issues with them. So I ended up seeing Roy and Melanie back at the beginning of August when I started, and they came in dealing with. I'll just present their problems. Melanie has had issues with Roy's stern voice and anger. It scares her, and there's outbursts from Roy. They've had issues with him and pornography. They've had money issues. They've had intimacy issues, and they've had parenting issues. Quite a bit to work through and walk through that they would like to focus on. Roy, apparently from Melanie and him, said that he has a cycle that he works too much and doesn't spend time with her, but then he'll spend all the time with her and not time on work. And just kind of goes through these cycles of good and bad and good and bad, and just in a way it needs to level out a little bit. One of their other issues is that they haven't had sex in a long time. He can't remember when, but yeah, that to me shows me that things aren't safe, and she's not wanting to be vulnerable. And Roy doesn't want things to be that way. He said that himself. I don't want my marriage to be like this. And I asked him. He said, I said, why are you here? He said, I love my wife and I don't want to get divorced. So some kind of good reasons to work with things and start. I'm gonna work into the psychosocial past history for them. Melanie grew up small town Iowa in a very conservative community, going to church, going and doing the small town conservative. She grew up in a Mennonite area. That should give some clues as to kind of the environment she grew up in. Her parents are still married. Uh, but dad was an alcoholic, and a mean alcoholic, and so that carries with her today. Roy was physically and verbally abused by his dad. He saw his mom and his brother also get verbally and physically abused. He did go to church as a child, but then stopped going to church when Grandma died. He couldn't remember exactly when that is. He's got one brother, 3 years older than him. Uh, he grew up in Central Texas, but his parents divorced at the age of 8. He's lived in 6 different states, and he's been previously married, or actually, yeah, he's been previously married, and he has a daughter from a girlfriend from a previous relationship. The daughter, they're estranged. They have not talked. She's 13 years old now. And yeah, he divorced his wife back in 2008, 2009, when everything fell out. They were only married for a year and a half. That turned him to alcohol, and he became an alcoholic for about a year. He then felt the need to grow closer to God and went to a church. It was at that church that he met Melanie. Then they ended up getting married in 2012, so they've been married for 6 years now. And yeah, in the process of that, after they got married, they were married for 2.5 years, and then they got pregnant. And then he also started a new business, and he's now self-employed, small business. And yeah, that has gone well for them, but it has also created a lot of stress, as I said before. And so their child is now 3 years old, and the business is 3 years old. And they've kind of, in my assessment, lived the last 3 years on separate tracks. She's taking care of the child, and he's taking care of the business, both newborns to some extent. So, a couple other wrinkles to know is that they are expecting in Christmas. Um, and she has had suicidal thoughts a long time ago, nothing recent, but yeah, definitely very affects her. In our first meeting, she actually shared that with me, and she'd never shared that with Roy before, and that really surprised her. They are currently attending a a solid church here in our community, and they're a part of a community group. Now, the attendance on either one of those isn't real solid, but that that is something that they're wanting and leaning into. So that's encouraging. Um, so uh, from there, I'm going to share my treatment plan with you guys. When they first came in, just as an assessment and kind of a blanket, I gave the assessment or diagnosis of adjustment disorder with disturbance of conduct. And they're presenting problems, as I stated before, because things have gotten tense and really distant between the two of them, and they want to work on their marriage and things have gotten tense because of Roy's anger. But as I stated before, they have issues that they want to work on with pornography, money issues, intimacy issues, and parenting issues. Therefore, I put down treatment goals for them to learn to recognize and verbally express hurt feelings instead of expressing them through angry outbursts. Roy and Melanie will also recognize pros and cons of current relationship and commitment activity and commit to actively building on the positive aspects of the relationship. And I put down a 4-month time span for that as a estimated completion. I think if they're committed to it and they attend regularly to sessions, I think we can get through it in this semester. Objective number 1 that I've put down is each partner will list 3 changes he or she will make to improve the relationship. Objective number 2, identify and utilize support system that already exists to be used to assist in the renewal of the relationship. That's what I'm looking for them to lean into their community group, their connection group, and really have them come alongside. Really would love for Roy to just be open and vulnerable with the guys in that group, and for them to come alongside and encourage him. And just help show him that he can do this, that he can lean into God. And so really just utilizing that support group to help their relationship, because honestly, it's that support group that'll be a lot more effective than I will. I just meet them once every week, every 2 weeks, but that support group can meet a lot more, and he can access them a whole lot more than he can access me. Objective number 3, identify the short and long-term pros and cons of their current style of expressing anger. Basically, this is where I want Roy to just see how his anger is just not beneficial. But why he does it, and what comes from that, and where that all comes from. Really, just I want him to be introspective, but I want him to do that in front of Melanie, so she kind of gets an understanding and gets empathy for where he's coming from and what he might be struggling with. Objective number 4, each partner constructs and implements a self-change plan regarding an anger evoking situation. Basically, I want them to come up with what happens when Roy gets angry, and what happens when, things get tense, and how are they both going to respond. And yeah, that's really what I'm looking for in that objective. Objective number 5, uh, and last one, actually, yep, is that Roy will recognize and verbalize softer emotions that precede anger. So he'll be more aware, self aware of what his anger could be boiling, could be coming, and really just kind of understanding things from that aspect. So prescribed frequency of treatment is every 2 weeks. When I first saw them, I thought every 2 weeks should be about right. We meet about 8 to 10 times through the course of the semester, and they lean in and do the homework and process things. I think that we could be well on our way, in our process here. A couple points of concern, a couple wrinkles, I guess you could say, is last week I met with them. Before I met with them, I got an email from Melanie explaining that she had filed a simple domestic dispute against Roy. And we spent the last session discussing his severe outburst. Honestly, he was throwing things around the house. He was yelling. Their child was in the corner screaming and crying because he was scared. And yeah, it really made Melanie feel unsafe, and to be understood. And she spent 2 days actually sleeping at her parents' house. And because I have the working relationship with Kim, the other therapist here at Journey Counseling Services, I really picked her brain and kind of saw what she's done with Melanie and how she's worked with Melanie. So with all of that said, what I've chosen to do is just after their simple domestic and talking to Kim, I've chosen to separate out Roy from counseling for 2 sessions. And I really want to do kind of an intensive on his mood swings and his anger, and really just lean into God in this and just see if he really would be just depend on God and let God into some deep, dark spaces of hurt, and really let healing come from his past. One area of concern is that I hope and pray that Melanie's not done fighting for the relationship, that she hasn't lost hope in Roy, lost hope in what their relationship could be. The other concern, I kind of just stated it, but is that Roy, my concern is that he won't lean in wholeheartedly to God and let the grace of Jesus cover him. That he wouldn't depend on God, that he's going to try to do this on his own. That's a point of concern. And so I just really am praying for them. And it'd be great if you guys could pray for them too, that, they would just, particularly Roy, would just depend on God, that he would just be open before God, let his guard down before God. And so kind of with all of this said, I have some questions that I will pose as we go through this week. But really, I want your questions. I want your angles of how to work this. Obviously, you kind of probably see some themes of failure, shame, some spiritual highs and lows. But there's also kind of this thought of like maybe bipolar manic depressant type of thing. I'm not wanting to give a label, but that maybe could give us a lens to work things, to process things. I guess I'm really looking forward to your guys' input and thoughts and questions that I could ask him, or approaches, or homework. Kind of an exciting thing, and I'm really excited for Roy and Melanie in this, that they get the help of not just me or another therapist, but they get the help of other brothers and sisters in Christ that can really just either lift them up, and the Holy Spirit just moving through multiple people just is so exciting to me. So yeah, if you guys have any further questions, feel free to post them. Anything that I might be off on, please, say something. Yeah, really am looking forward to your guys' help as I process through this. So, thanks, guys. I hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.